Okay, I think we're live for the first stream. So, hello, I am Tim, and I'm going to be building some products on stream. Going to be various kind of products in AI space, in the YouTube space, and the goal here is to kind of build products on stream, showing you how I'm doing it, what I'm doing, and hopefully go from $0 to $1million in revenue. And I'm going to bring you along for the journey, and hopefully we can build some products together, get some input from the audience, and see how things go. So the first product I'm going to build is a voice product. So rather than having to type when I'm coding, essentially I can now speak and then it will just get passed into the terminal or the code editor, and that way I can speed up my development. Now, as part of all of this, I'm going to be using a lot of AI tools, obviously one of them being Claude Code and kind of vibe coding. I have worked as a software engineer for around 10 years, so I do know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try and leverage most of my experience using AI tools rather than just writing the code myself. So for clarity, I have done a little bit of vibe coding, not too much. So I'm going to try and improve my vibe coding skills and using AI, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. And we can go ahead and get started. So as I said, I'm going to be using Claude Code, and recently I discovered this repository called SpecKit. And basically the rationale behind this is rather than just typing into Claude kind of what you want, the idea is that you can create specifications which are much clearer and much more specific for Claude to then go and implement the work. I've never used this, so we're going to be kind of discovering it together. So just going to dive into the documentation and see what's going on. I think I've already installed the project. Yes, I have. Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new project. We'll call this, make this a bit bigger so we can see. We'll call this text to code. We're going to be using Claude for this, and we are using the shell. Okay. Right then, so to start using, establish your product principles, create baseline specs, create implementation plan, generate actionable tasks, execute implementation. Okay, so basically this kind of takes it from, rather than just writing Claude, build me a login form, to a bit more structured way of doing things, which hopefully will give us a better result. So let's go ahead and create our constitution for this project. Okay, that's not what I guess we need to use Claude, don't we? /spec-kit constitution. So create or update the project constitution from interactive or providing principles. Okay. So yeah, it's my first ever stream, so hold on. I don't think this is public, is it? No, it's public. Cool. Okay, yeah, so this is my first ever stream, so if stuff doesn't work, apologies. We'll try and fix it for future ones. Hopefully it is working, and hopefully you can hear me. Not that I've got any viewers, I don't think, so we'll see how things go. Okay, so it's doing some git logging. Okay. Yep, I'm going to allow that. Yes, not that there is anything in the original commit. We don't have a remote origin. Put my phone away, so stop looking at it. So yeah, I've never used SpecKit, but hopefully from what I've read that spec-driven development seems to be a good way to use these tools. So you create your constitution, you then specify what we want to build, what and why, not the tech stack. Command to provide your tech stack and architectural choices, create actionable tasks to implement the plan. We then execute the plan. Okay. Seems fairly straightforward. What's the name of this project? User project name. Yeah, I'm fine with that. What core dev principles should govern this project? So, yes, I think TDD is a good one. Simplicity, yes, again. Type safety, of course. Convention over config. Follow established patterns and conventions. Minimize custom config. Yes, absolutely. And we'll also add in domain-driven design. Hopefully keep things a bit cleaner. And I think that's probably good for now. What's the primary tech stack for this project? So we're going to be building a tool for Mac, Linux, Windows. I believe Electron is something that normally people use. It's a tool for building kind of apps across various platforms. Electronic, I can't spell. Electron, cross-platform desktop apps. But I don't want to use Electron. I think there's one it's written in Rust that recently came out. Try and find out what it's called. Tori. This is what I'm thinking of. Why that's not copying. Tori. Okay. So this is what we're going to be using, I think. So in terms of the stack here, it will be kind of React or a front-end platform, and then Rust on the back end. For clarity, I've never used Rust before, so it'll be interesting to see kind of, can I vibe code a Rust application without having ever written Rust? So hopefully I won't have to dive into the code too much, as one of the goals of this is that I don't have to do much of the coding, rather be kind of the architecting and the kind of the product side of things rather than raw low-level coding. So we're going to be using Tauri, Rust, and then we'll do React, and Tailwind I think has some good kind of free UI components, I believe. So again, we'll use that. Tailwind. CSS. I used to be a front-end dev when I first started my career, but I haven't done front-end for 8 or so years. So very rusty at CSS and kind of the reality of front-end development nowadays. Yes, we absolutely want CI testing, etc. Yes, of course, we want security standards. Any additional governance sections you want, because I think that's fine for now. So we're doing TDD, we want simplicity, type safety, convention over config, domain-driven design, spelled wrong. Tori, I don't know how you say it. Rust, React, Tailwind. I think we're good with that one. So let's see what we get now. So yeah, I don't think anyone is watching, but that's okay. First ever stream, so yeah, and it's a good sign that like 1Password used this this project. I myself use 1Password, so I obviously used the project. Okay, so it looks like it's built the Constitution. It's interesting naming, but we'll see what we've got. So we get a constitution.md file. Let me open up a new terminal. What did it say? It was .specify. We'll just open up the project. Why not? Okay. So memory and our constitution here. Okay, so what have we actually got then? Okay, that's just a blank constitution, right? Let's so you've got the principles there, you've got the core principles, quality gate, security governance. Yes. Text to code constitution. So TDD, so you then get some kind of rules. Test must be written before implementation code. Red, green, factor. Cycle is strictly enforced. Happy with that. No code written may be written without a corresponding failing test. Yes. Okay, so this kind of basically just explains what each of these things actually are to Claude, and then hopefully Claude will take them and implement them when doing its features, which makes sense. So in terms of Rust, all public functions must be explicit type signatures. Unwrap is prohibited in production code. Use proper error handling with result and then the error. Question mark operator. TypeScript, yeah. Tailwind, yeah. Okay. Project must follow established patterns and conventions. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. Let's just go with it. As I said, I'm trying not to be too pedantic in the code and kind of putting my thoughts onto it too much. As I said, I've not ever worked with Rust, so I can't just jump in and write loads of Rust code. Again, the goal of this is to see how far we can get with tools like Claude Code, actually building products rather than focusing on the engineering and the techie side of things. Okay, so suggested commit message. Let's go ahead and do that. Do we get any specific spec kit commands for commits? No, okay. So go ahead and commit the specify constitution. Commit message. As you can see, my typing is absolutely terrible at the moment as I'm traveling using the laptop keyboard, which I'm not really used to. So again, one of the motivations behind building a kind of speech to text app. I know they are available already, but building one on stream is so that I can kind of fix my terrible typing on my laptop and hopefully get quicker at building stuff with Claude Code. So yeah, happy for that to be added. Okay, so we've got a commit now. Lovely. So in terms of specify, let's have a look at what we actually do next. So we've created our constitution, the core principles. You specify commands to describe what you want to build. Focus on the what and why, not the tech stack. Okay, so let's do specify. No feature. Need to ask them, what would you like to specify? Okay, so it's not a text editor. No, that's not what we're talking about. Okay, so I want to build a cross-platform desktop app that will allow a user to speak and have their speech transcribed and then passed into a particular program as text. The goal is to allow us to do things like using Claude Code with our voice. I think that's kind of the main objectives of this. So in terms of kind of what else I want to be able to choose the specific transcription model, ideally local models. I want to customize, can't spell customize, the hotkeys for starting speech, have a clean UI for the config, the voice display, I guess, kind of like a pill with sound wave imagery. I don't know how specific I need to be at this point, but we'll just go fairly specific. Just type your feature description. I'm kind of doing more of a feature description. I kind of thought this was the whole project. Build an application that can help me organize photos. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty broad way of thinking about things. So we'll keep with the quite specific and quite broad, but we'll see how it gets on with the next stage. So cross-platform app, speak, speech, transcribe, pass it into a particular program as text. Goal is to allow us to do things like using Claude Code using a voice. I want to be able to choose specific transcription model. Ideally local models. I want to be able to customize the hotkeys for starting speech and a clear UI for the config. The voice display, kind of like a pill with sound wave imagery. I also need a clean way to pass the transcribed text into the specific program. By default, the, I guess, active window would be one way to do it. But also potentially, one thing that might be interesting is that if you press a particular key combination, it automatically picks the program that you're going into rather than the active window. So for example, when you use this, you kind of select your program. It'd be interesting to have something similar to this, and then you have, I pick Chrome, and then when I'm transcribing it, it goes into Chrome rather than a particular thing. Something similar to, that was what Command Tab, isn't it? Yeah. Tab on a Mac. Okay, let's go with that now and see what we get. Turn the heating on, a little bit cold here. Create feature description. Let me set up a branch and generate the specification. Okay, there's nothing to fetch, but go ahead. Do I want to proceed? Yes, it can do ls commands. So what we're doing here, blah, 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 voice input cross-platform. Okay, so it's running a new feature script. Let's go ahead and allow that to do that. So yeah, I think this project is actually written and maintained by GitHub, so hopefully it's reasonably good. I guess we'll find out as we build the project. Taking quite a while to create the spec. And so, yeah, one of the main reasons around using territory, again, is hopefully I believe it's far more performant than Electron. Electron's a bit of a resource hog. But we will see. Again, with Electron, you write it all in JavaScript. So again, that's kind of easy for me to jump in and start editing and looking at the code and stuff. Whereas if I'm using Rust, I don't know enough Rust to know what's good and bad code. So hopefully I'll not get too involved in the actual coding and focus more on the product side of things. Okay, it's had an error writing the file, which is not a good start. So this is the create new feature script. Okay, so you've got lots of arguments there. What does it actually do? Find the function in the repository by root. Okay. Okay, so yeah. Function to get the highest number from the specs. Okay. Function to get the highest number from Git branches. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Check existing branches. Okay. Clean branch name. Resolve the root repository. Prefer Git information. Okay. Function to generate branch name with stop word filtering. Okay. Generates the name. Determines the branch. Force base 10 interpretation to print out. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Basically creates a branch with various little rules, and then we create our spec. Okay. Do we want to allow it to overwrite spec.md? So what is spec.md currently? It's absolutely nothing. So yes, we shall allow this. So we're guessing basically what it does is kind of create a branch. Yeah, so we've got voice input here. And then for each branch, it's going to create a spec. In this case, a folder with the spec, various checklists. Kind of all this new feature stuff is around creating the branch, creating the specs, and then the naming of the folder. So numbering, checking against the remote branches and locally. Make sure there's no conflicts there. Okay, so it's generated our spec file. So we've got feature branch, spec file. We've got checklist. All are passing apparently. Let's have a look at this. So content quality, no implementation details, focused on user value, business needs, written for non-technical stakeholders, all mandatory sections completed. Okay, so I guess we can have a look at the spec that it's generated and see whether we're happy with it. I imagine we will be. Okay, so that's my input. Okay, so it's broken it down into user stories. User story 1, speak and transcribe to active window, priority P1. Okay, so I guess if you can do that, we've kind of got a working app, which is interesting. User working in a terminal running Claude Code. They pass a global hotkey, they press a global hotkey to start recording, speak their prompt naturally, and press the hotkey again or release it to stop. The transcribes text appears in the terminal as if they had typed. The entire flow happens without leaving the target application. Why this priority is the core value proposition without reliable capture, transcribe, inject into the active window. Nothing else matters. Yeah, I agree with that. Independent tests can be fully tested by pressing the hotkey, speaking a sentence, stopping and verifying the transcribed text appears in the currently focused application. Yeah, okay, interesting text. I mean, that's kind of more manual testing there. I wonder whether we can have it kind of, if I record a pre-recorded bit of text, whether we can pass that to the input and see whether we get the expected text. That'll be interesting. So the acceptance scenario is given the app is running in the background and the terminal is focused. When the user presses the record hotkey and speaks list all the files in this directory, then the text lists all the files in the directory injected into the terminal as keyword input. Yep. Given the app is recording, when the user presses the stop hotkey, then recording stops, transcribe completes, and the result is injected into the active window. Given 2 seconds of stopping. Okay. Given the app is running, no transcription model is configured, then the app prompts. Yeah, okay. So it seems to have added in this kind of concept of either holding the key, the hotkey, or pressing the hotkey and then pressing it again to finish, which is good, I guess. Different options. It doesn't mention anything about configuring those, but I guess that will come later as a user story. User story 2, a user opens the app, settings, and browses all available transcription models. They can select a local model, download it if needed, and set it as their active model. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to read through all of these. Stick with the top level stuff. Customize hotkeys. The user wants to change their default hotkey for starting, stopping voice recording to avoid conflicts with their existing workflow shortcuts. They open the hotkey settings, press their desired key combination, and the app registers. Yep. Visual recording feedback. While recording, the user sees a floating pill-shaped overlay with a sound wave animation that responds to their voice input. Yeah. This provides a clear visual confirmation the app is listening and capturing audio. Yes. Target window selection. Instead of always injecting into the active window, the user wants to pick a specific target application. They use an app switcher style interface similar to Command Tab on macOS to select which window receives a transcribed text. It's useful when the user wants to dictate into one app while reading from another. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so I think it's done a pretty good job creating those user stories from my prompts. Edge cases. What happens when the user speaks in a language not supported by a selected model? The app must indicate that the model may not support. Yeah. Okay. To be honest, I've only really considered it being in English for the moment. What happens when the microphone is unavailable or in use by another app? Yeah, display an error message. Sensible. What happens when the target window becomes unresponsive? App must time out after a configurable period. Yeah, that's sensible. What happens when the user speaks for an extended period, 10 minutes plus? The app must handle long-form dictation without degrading transcript quality or memory usage. Okay. What happens when the system goes to sleep or the lid is closed during recording? The app must gracefully stop recording and preserve any partially transcribed text. Yeah, that's fine. Multiple instances of the app are running. Okay. System must capture audio. Yeah. Audio using a user selected local speech model. Okay, so this overall the spec looks pretty good from what I can see. So I guess we can move on to the next step and see what we end up with. So far, pretty impressed with this little spec kit and the way that Claude is doing things. I think we're good with the clarify. I'm just going to go with it and see what we get, basically. Let's go ahead and plan. Yes, it can plan for me. Web search, Whisper RS, Rust, create Whisper text to speech. Yeah, you can use web commands, don't mind. Yes, you can fetch stuff about Tory. Okay, so it looks like it's doing stuff in the background. Oh, I've lost. Yes. Okay. Yeah, this is Claude Code being a bit dodgy in the UI here. Yeah, I don't know if this is because of the way that it's been built. I mean, I did see a thing with who was it? The Primogen talking about how they've built Claude Code. The UI is just kind of not built in a very good way, from what I can remember. I can't remember exactly what they were doing or how they were doing it, but it seemed to be that it was really kind of inefficient in the way they were building it. So I don't know whether that's a result of the way that it's built, that you kind of lose it when you resize like that. A bit strange. New Claude model by the looks of it. So it looks like it's just trying to work out exactly how the Tory cross desktop application works, which is good because I don't know how it works. So we'll see what it comes up with. Yeah, it's quite interesting seeing the kind of development of these models and the way they're kind of moving towards. I saw that the founder of Clawbot has joined OpenAI, which was interesting. I've not really played with Clawbot, but it seems quite. I've watched a few videos about people using it, and it seems pretty interesting. It does look like Anthropic are kind of going more down the developer kind of power user route, whereas OpenAI seem to be on the kind of consumer route, which is quite interesting to see the kind of difference there. I did actually watch quite an interesting stream with George Hotz the other day. He was playing around with Clawbot on stream. Had a few interesting points actually around kind of the idea that Clawbot will kind of be this, or various AI agents will kind of be this interface between the end user and then all the kind of current apps that we use. So he was kind of saying that he thinks basically people will end up with their own kind of customized agent or agents, and then they will interface with things like WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube for you, and then take that content and kind of run it through themselves and present it to you in the way that you like, which I thought was a really interesting way of thinking about how it's going to develop. And he raised a really good point that why would you ever want to see ads at that point, right? So maybe the AI agents will kind of be customized to your preferences, remove ads from that kind of stuff, and present you kind of a combined timeline or viewpoint of all the content that you want to view, which, yeah, super interesting idea and potential future for this kind of thing. Really interesting stream, actually. He built a kind of cryptocurrency project live on screen that ended up getting hacked because he revealed the private key. So yeah, quite interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to also see kind of how people are using these tools. As I said, I've not used Claude. I don't have a need for a kind of a personal assistant in my life at the moment. Maybe we can add Claude to a project like this and get it to work on PRs while I sleep. That would be an interesting thing to do. But yeah, I'm kind of at the stage where I've used Claude and the other kind of AIs a little bit, mainly just in the UI or in the terminal to kind of do basic things like prompting to build a little function or analyze a little bit of text. But part of the reason I'm doing these streams and kind of diving into all this stuff is that I'm kind of seeing it improve quite a lot, and I want to see how far I can go with it. As being a software engineer, it is quite scary seeing all these things. So I kind of want to understand where we are with them, where they're going, and what the potential future might look like with these kind of tools. Yeah. Pretty slow at the moment, though, I will say. Although it is doing a lot. It seems to be writing the API contracts now, writing a crit start, the final plan. So let's actually have a look at the code and see what we've actually got. If anything, we've got no code yet. Let's writing a plan. Okay, so we're obviously writing it in memory, and then it's going to dump it all out. Okay, so it's done like a research document. Interesting. So use Whisper RS. Yeah, okay, I mean, it's a kind of interesting research document here. So it's picked the initial model, Whisper RS, which I believe is OpenAI's open source model. With I guess this is Rust bindings to the C++ module. Let's look at some alternatives. Interesting, given reasons why it's not picked those, which is cool. The library it's going to use for audio capture, sorry. Model management and downloading. Okay, so Hugging Face obviously have something that will help with that, which is cool. Text injection into target applications. Use Inigo as a primary with a R-board pace as a fallback. Automated keyboard stimulation crate. Okay, so there's a package called Inigo, which I guess handles copy and pasting text around the place, which is interesting. Window enumeration and activation. Use Xwin for window enumeration. Platform specific code for window activation. Okay, yeah. So I don't know what Xwin exactly is, but I guess it's a Rust tool that will. I'm guessing it's a crate. Kind of gets you all the windows, and then it's basically saying, we need a custom code for the actual platform we're on to activate the window, which is fine. Yeah, hotkeys. Okay, so I mean, it's quite thorough in its research there. Do I want to allow Claude to update the Claude context file? Yes, they can do that for me. So I guess it's got its plan now. Yeah, within 3 seconds. I mean, that seems pretty slow, personally. I would hope in under half a second, really. I did it should be basically instant. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily need that to be a constraint. Interesting that it's done that. 500 megs of RAM is a lot, but it's also not a lot. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, I mean, yeah, so the Constitution and all these plan documents seem to be pretty good so far. Okay, split out some of the idea on the architecture of the folders. Yeah, nicely structured by the looks of it. So we've got audio transcription, injection, preferences, and then the commands. That looks pretty nicely structured, to be honest. Interesting domains. Yeah, so in terms of the domains, audio, transcription, injection, yeah, sensible. And then this is the front end stuff. So you've got pages, yeah, components, hooks, yeah, all looks pretty good, to be fair. Structure decision, domain-driven Rust modules, backend organized in the bounded context, yeah. Rather than technical layer, yes. Front end follows standard React plus Vite conventions. Yeah, okay, all looks pretty good to me. Okay, so what's it actually done? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we've come up with like quite a detailed plan actually. So far, pretty impressed. So we've got some command contracts. Okay, commands are organized by bounded context. Great. Each command maps to a domain operation per Constitution Principle 5. Lovely jubbly. Okay, so it's started to write out kind of the API contract, which is interesting. Again, it's very in-depth, which is cool. Okay, so this is obviously from the Tower application. So command, start recording. Okay, lovely. This is, yeah, okay, so this is kind of mapping from how this Tory works to what it's going to write in terms of the particular functions, which is cool. Again, I don't know much about Rust or the particular application, but obviously this is a command for the Tory application. They've got asynchronous function, in this case delete model. It's going to get the state, which I guess is the state of our application, and then in this case the particular model, so the input from the user. I guess start recording will be, again, the state and then the event. Interesting. Okay, so overall looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get it to run the task to generate the list of tasks to implement. Yes, I'm going to allow that. Yeah, so far pretty impressed with the plan that it's built. Certainly in what, like half an hour, we've got a pretty detailed plan, good overview of the project, reasonable API here so far, function-wise. Okay, so it says it kind of which functional requirement maps the particular command, which is interesting. Yeah, I mean, so far, as I say, I'm pretty impressed with the way that it's working. Certainly, I have seen improvements in Claude Code. I did try it kind of a year plus ago, I guess. I used a bit of GitHub Copilot at my last job, and yeah, generally it was okay. Produced a lot of crap a lot of the time, so I generally didn't use it that much when I was at work. But I don't work anymore. Currently between stuff, trying my own startups and trying this kind of thing. I have used it a lot more, and it has improved quite a lot, which is really interesting. So definitely seeing the improvement. Are we going to replace all developers in the next 12 months? I don't think so. I think the way that development or software engineers and developers work might change, utilising these tools a lot more, but I don't think we're going to replace them all. And to be honest, I think a lot of companies are using it as an excuse to kind of outsource or downsize if they're having troubles. But yeah, certainly an interesting space to be in at the moment, and interesting as an observer how AI is going to change the world, if it is at all. But yeah, this video was quite interesting actually. The idea that Claude will basically control your computer. Okay, so it spits something out now. The tasks, I believe. Okay. I have all the context loaded. Now let's generate tasks.md. Constitution mandates TDD, so I'll include test tasks. Task generated, here's the summary. Task 1, setup foundation, speak and transcribe, model management, hotkey customization, recording overlay, polish. Okay. Tasks per story, implementation 13 tasks. Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, let's just not look at the stuff and see what we get, really. This is recommending analyze to begin. Cross artifact consistent. Okay, let's run this first, the analyze, to see that it's consistent across all our markdown planning documents. And then we'll run implement and see how far we get. As I said, so far, super impressed with what it's spit out, but we've not got any codes yet, and we've not got an application, just planning, so we'll see. But yeah, this kind of video here from Anthropic is super interesting, the idea that kind of models and AI will essentially control your computer and be the thing that implements a lot of the stuff, and you'll just kind of prompt it and it will do stuff for you. Yeah, super interesting. I can kind of see a future where if this continues, that people will be able to build their own tooling, their own products. I don't know how that's going to change the kind of software space. Because currently, obviously, it costs a lot of money to build software. It's a very specialized thing to do. It's not easy to do. It's certainly not easy to build good software. So yeah, how will AI change that? I guess we'll find out together. Okay, so it's analyzed itself. Let's have a look at what it's done. Yeah, okay, so add some tests for cross-platform. Yeah, sensible. Yeah, okay. No task for that. Yeah, okay, so it seems to pick up quite a few things that it's not planned for, or it's not got a specific task for. Obviously, we didn't look through the tasks, but again, I'm just kind of interested to see how far it can get without me getting too involved. So no critical issues found. You may proceed with back implement, but addressing these items first will improve quality. Yeah, okay. concrete remediation. Yes. Might as well let it do that for me. See, I don't know why when I do that we end up with nothing. I wonder if it's because of this. The thing is, I have run Brew upgrade a number of times. Maybe it just doesn't like Claude being installed via Brew. Although apparently you need to update various things, so we'll see. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's got any questions, well, firstly, if anyone's actually watching, please do drop them in the chat and I'll answer stuff, and kind of more than happy to interact and see what's going on. As I say, I really want this to be kind of collaborative, hopefully with an audience. If you guys watch and enjoy it, let me know. Okay. Let's do all the remediations, please, Claude. So yeah, I mean, a couple of other things that I've seen in streams from various people about AI and vibe coding, particularly with Primogen and George Hotz in that stream the other day. They both seem to say that it generates, one would say, untasteful code, or perhaps not well written code, which from what I've seen is true. I don't know how it's going to impact. Oh, obviously, in theory, it'll improve as it gets more developed, gets more training data and kind of more refined from Anthropic and OpenAI, etc. But I was wondering, like, ultimately, the end user doesn't care how nice the code is when they're using a product. They care that the product itself works and is fast. It's only kind of engineers that care about code quality and well-built software underlying, assuming it all works. So it's interesting. I don't know whether it will have an impact that lots of people can build products now with Claude Code, and the fact that the code's crap, well, potentially crap. If it works, it's very interesting. How it will work for kind of keeping to develop it, if you ever have to have someone come in and actually look at the code, I don't know. I guess we'll see with this project. Again, the aim of these kind of projects is to not write any code and have Claude do it all for me. Again, one of the reasons why I went with Rust is that I don't know Rust, so it's going to be difficult for me to kind of jump in and fix things, so I'm going to be relying entirely on Claude. But yeah, obviously, like, as a software engineer, I've seen that code quality matters a lot when you're maintaining and building features. Does that apply for Claude Code as well? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Do I still get that silly message? Okay, no, it's gone. Lovely. Okay, wants to run. Check prerequisites. Yep, go ahead. I guess the nice thing when you have these kind of specs and all this kind of stuff is that if you exit Claude Code, it will, in theory, have all this stuff to keep going with when you restart, which is nice with the spec-driven development versus just kind of me dumping in commands, which is what I've done in the past. Okay, I mean, so it's not actually written anything yet. It's just kind of looked at what it's got. So it's actually going to start initializing the project. Yeah, so I guess like once it's done one task, it will check it off, be on to the next one, which is nice if you, again, if you restart it and then come back, it should be on the, be able to come back to the correct point, which is very nice. Do I want to proceed? Yes, you can create stuff. Yeah, and I guess like if you have multiple agents as well, they can each pick up specific tasks, tasks that are not being worked on, which is good. Again, in the future, what we'll do is we'll set up some Clawbot instances, perhaps, in a VPS and get it to work on some tasks, maybe. Maybe we can stick in kind of pull requests and it will, not pull requests, sorry, issues, and it pick up an issue. Or maybe it can just work through tasks and create merge requests, and then we can review them and see if it all looks good. Probably a future thing to do. Keep it simple for now, but that'll be an interesting workflow. Yes. One thing that is quite frustrating so far is having to give permission for all the little things. I guess it makes sense. Whether it actually obeys permissions and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. I do kind of feel like it's very much a make it feel to the user as though it can't do stuff, but in theory it can run any command it wants. Not great, but security is a thing of the past, I guess. Yeah, interesting. Get your claws on the secrets. Yeah, it's an interesting little project this, I guess. Email it and see if it will reveal its secrets. Yes, I mean the George Hotz thing that I saw on the stream. I don't know whether anyone's written an article about it or not. Crypto hack stream. Doesn't seem to be anything recent. Jan 20. Whether this was it, I don't know. No. Yeah, I mean, he was basically, from what I saw, he basically said to Clawbot, "Go make me some money." It came up with some ideas. I think one of them was crypto, and one of the viewers sent some crypto to get started. they ended up building this little project, and at one point the private key was revealed from, I believe it's from the AI. You kind of spat out the private key, and it turns out that you've got hackers that essentially watch popular streams on Twitch and all that kind of stuff, and then use OCR, which kind of recognizes text and is able to take text from images, took that private key and then was able to steal the crypto, basically. And I think people were watching his stream and kind of maybe he tweeted about it or something, the actual crypto coin, and people started thinking he was endorsing it and put money into it. And I think at one point it had quite a big market cap. I think they stole like $200,000, so it's kind of crazy, really. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. Maybe I'll do kind of an article or something on it. Yeah. So again, one of the things I'm looking at doing is kind of YouTubing stuff. I have done a bit of research around kind of the faceless YouTube AI automation kind of way of doing things. I have played around with it a bit. I don't think it's quite as automated as I would like. But again, one of the things I'm going to build on stream with people watching is kind of tools to perhaps make content creation easier. So I've got a couple of ideas for stuff. One of them would be kind of taking these long form streams, running the transcript into something like Claude and getting it to spit out kind of interesting points that we could cut into shorts or longer form videos for the actual main channel. Another one would be kind of a workflow of having various kind of RSS feeds for interesting topics like AI or hacking, passing all those articles into the AI every 8 hours or so, seeing if there's anything interesting in them that can become kind of short or long form content, and then perhaps getting it to write a script, write a plan, all that kind of stuff to kind of help automate a lot of the flow that is required in content creation. Again, I'm pretty new to content creation, but a lot of the time, from what I've seen, it takes a lot of time to kind of research, write scripts, and then obviously do the kind of actual creation of the video. Ideally, I wanted to avoid kind of being on screen, but I think that's kind of going to be inevitable that I have to be a kind of presenter. From what I've seen, doing the kind of faceless stuff is probably a lot harder than it looks if you want to have any form of quality. And then again, maybe quality is not that important and it's just a case of churning stuff out. But we'll see. I'll experiment with all this kind of stuff and see whether we get any results. Again, this is all part of the journey from nothing to trying to get to kind of $1 million in revenue. So we'll see how we get on with that. And I do believe content creation. Why does it need access to files on network? No, doesn't need it. I don't have any files on the network anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, one of the ideas and kind of things that I think is really interesting is obviously content creation. Did a video about why I quit my job and why I think YouTube is a great way to make a business and make income. Ideally, I don't have to get a job again in the future and I can kind of earn my own money. I really do enjoy the freedom and being able to kind of do what I want. Currently not earning any money, so I've got some of the benefits, but none of the difficulties and none of the realities that I need for doing my own thing long term. But we'll see. I think YouTube is a great way to generate an income through content, through sponsorships, through selling products and that kind of thing. So we'll see. As I say, I'm going to try and build as much as I can on stream and sharing it with you guys, if anyone watches, of course. Yeah. So yeah, still new to OBS and all this kind of streaming stuff. So doesn't seem to work entirely as I was expecting, but the stream itself seems to be okay from what I can see. Hopefully when I get back to the UK, I can kind of get a better setup rather than just my laptop. No viewers yet, but start with 0, it's fine. So still doing phase 1, implementing the project. We're actually getting code now, which is interesting. Got some SVGs. Fun. So yeah, so it's interesting. It's called this one source and then this one source Tory, but I guess that kind of makes some sense. This is kind of the back end code, and this is the front end app. It's built quite a lot already by the looks of it. Whether this is just boilerplate, I don't know, but it seems to be doing a lot of stuff. So again, I've never written any Rust myself. So there's lots of stuff that I don't know that's in these files, but we can see. I think these things here are these kind of decorator stuff for the Tory stuff rather than Rust itself. Well, as in they're specific to the desktop app stuff. So recording session, structs, some enums. So I guess this is like an object enum. But yeah, as I try not to write any of the code. Not that I could write the Rust code anyway at the moment. I'd have to spend some time looking at it. Yeah, okay. Interesting. So what does it want to do? It wants to list out some stuff. Yeah, go for it. Bum, bum, bum. So yeah, it's basically created all the structure so far, all the files, not filled all them out yet. In terms of tests, what have we got? We've got contract tests, we've got integration tests and unit tests. All of them are empty so far. That implies that it's not doing TDD. Which is interesting. Oh, did I not give it access to read the folder? Okay, so it needs access. So what do I have to do? System settings, privacy, full disk access. I mean, full disk access seems like a lot, but okay. Let's see whether this fixes it. I don't know what it needs access to that it doesn't have access to already, but hopefully it's able to continue from where it kicked off. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't output a kind of a in progress document so it knows exactly where it is. Maybe it does, I've just not seen it. Because this seems like it's kind of burning tokens just by reading all these files. If it output a kind of a, oh, I was doing X, Y, Z, I then needed permissions from the user. Once I've got them, I'll do A, B, C. That would probably save tokens, but it doesn't seem to do that. So yeah, when I have been doing vibe coding, I did run into quite a lot of rate limit issues on the 20 quid a month plan. So I have upgraded to the, I think it's 90 quid a month, which is quite a lot of money, but it does seem kind of worth it if you can build these kind of apps to the standard that I want. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of things that I would never build myself just because I don't want to spend, all my time doing it. Because the cost of doing it is a lot in terms of time and effort for potentially no kind of reward. Whereas if you can get kind of it vibe coded in a few hours a day, it kind of does open up a lot more scope to build things that I wouldn't have done before. Certainly when I was working, because I didn't want to spend my weekends doing that kind of thing. See, now I'm not currently working, so I probably could code these things, but I'm trying to be kind of more entrepreneurial and kind of product focused rather than purely technical. So we'll see how we get on. So yeah, this is a little interesting little project here. I don't know how you'll know whether it's actually got it. He said it can't send email. So crafts your payload, reads it, extracts secrets. Oh, okay, so it... Oh, okay, so it only replies if it actually works in terms of prompt injection. Otherwise, it just comes to this. Like, okay, interesting. So again, this is kind of a super interesting little project that's appeared from things like Claude. And I guess are kind of only really built because of the ability to vibe code stuff, right? I don't know whether this person would have spent a few days building this kind of thing. Built this over the weekend. I mean, it doesn't say whether he used vibe in, but I would assume he did. So yeah, in terms of what I'm going to build, as I say, I'm building this speech to text tool. I know they would exist out there, but I thought it'd be cool to build one on stream, see how far we can get with Claude Code. I'm then going to build probably a dashboard to track all my progress and share my progress with people. So we can share the projects that we built, the revenue, maybe the stream data, views and stuff that I get on social media, all that kind of stuff. Share the workflows that I'm built, all that kind of thing. Then we'll probably start to look at building maybe a kind of workflow to build shorts for kind of TikTok and stuff on a particular topic like tech or finance or something that I can then kind of go and film and put out there. I'm exploring the idea of doing shorts because they're quite quick and easy to make rather than long form content at the moment. So the idea I've kind of got at the moment is that if I can make a workflow where, like I said, we read kind of data sources from RSS, find interesting topics, maybe like the fact that George Hotz got hacked on stream, his crypto stream thing. We kind of convert that into a little short script through the AI. The AI then gives me that script. Maybe we can even clip stuff directly from his stream. And then I take that script, record the minute-long audio and video. Then we then combine it with some B-roll or scenes from the stream itself or whatever we're talking about, and then release it. And then maybe we can build like a scheduling thing or a multi-release tool to release to YouTube, Shorts, to TikTok, to Instagram, all those kind of things as a little product. So those are kind of just the ideas that I've got at the moment. Again, kind of the plan is tooling and products through the tooling on both terms of vibe coding, AI coding, then kind of the content creation side of things. So YouTube Shorts, TikTok, YouTube long form, all that kind of stuff. So whether that's building tools that help you plan videos, plan scripts, write scripts, or video editing, all that kind of stuff, we'll see. Basically, anything that I find pain points in my own little development, we'll start to try and build coding. No, sorry, we'll try and vibe code products and tools to help alleviate that stuff. So we kind of get hopefully revenue, but hopefully we get the best of both worlds. We see product development with these kind of tools, but we also see me using those tools to build content on YouTube and various other platforms. Because yeah, my goal is to work for myself and not need to have a job, basically. I thought Rust was installed on this machine. Maybe it's not. What is it? Cargo. To be honest, like I said, I don't think I've ever written Rust really. I assume we can brew install it. It's just saying using Rust up. Okay. Standard installation. Why not? add it to my env. Not new shell, we're not that, so how do we check? Okay, so it's now installed, right? Yeah. I've installed Rust myself. You can now use Gold. I think we have it right. It does work. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting that it's kind of written all this code so far, and we didn't have Rust installed. Again, it's not doing TDD because we've not got any tests yet, even though we've got all this code out here. But I guess none of this is technically like it's just models and structs and stuff. It doesn't actually do. Well, it's got this big run function, so that's not true at all. It does actually do something. Yes, you can do that. But yeah, I mean, it's got loads of TypeScript code already as well. Again, none of this is actually tested yet. Which is a bit disappointing that I guess one of the core tenets of our constitution is test first, and it's not doing that at all. I don't know what its justification for doing that is, but if it even has one, I've told you can do this about 50 times. Yes, I mean, I don't actually know what it's currently doing in terms of the tasks. I mean, this is saying it's already on the foundational thing. I mean, it's interesting. Again, it's not got any tests in that particular foundational phase. Whether it's got okay, so it does actually have tests here. Okay, that's maybe that's fair enough in that it's not going to TDD just the setup and like basically getting anything to run. I'm kind of okay with that, to be honest. I probably wouldn't have written tests either at that point, to be fair to Claude. What does it want to CMake? Isn't that like yeah, okay, I guess it needs that. Go for it. Basically letting it install or do whatever it wants on the computer. Having to give it a lot of permissions. So yeah, this one interesting thing about vibe coding like this is that what do you do while it's writing all the code? You just sit there browsing Instagram or whatever. So yeah, I wonder whether I need to do some tags or stuff in the stream to get people to watch it. People and blogs, is that the right one? I don't know. So that's some tags, shall we? Vibe coding. I speak English. What's that one? Title and English. Let's ask Claude, shall we? What the let's get it to write me a description, shall we? I did ask Claude about starting a stream like this. This one, I think. Write me a stream video description. And my general streaming content. So yeah, obviously getting fully into the AI stuff, I did ask AI about should I stream and all this kind of stuff. So offloading all my thinking to AI, which is probably not great, but we'll see how we get on. I mean, that's not correct, but yeah. What is it? What has it done? Right. Titles. I mean, it's not a web app, but I mean, it's not hosted on DigitalOcean yet, because I was asking it about hosting ClaudeBot on DigitalOcean and stuff. So, as always, it kind of takes everything you've spoken about ever in the past and uses it as context, which I find quite annoying personally. We'll see. Building a. Get rid of the obvious. Well, I mean, it's an AI stream, so maybe we can keep the obvious double hyphens or whatever it is. It's a desktop app, and I did ask a lot about that, so I'm not sure why it thinks it's an AI web app. And we'll get rid of that. There we go. We'll just leave Claude Code as that for now. Okay, I wonder whether that will help get even a single viewer. We'll see. Got to start somewhere, I guess. So interestingly, we're already on phase 3, apparently. So apparently it's done phase 2. It's interesting that it's not like committing each phase and stuff, but I guess that's not part of my constitution. Maybe we can update the constitution to say, after each phase, please commit and create a new branch. So where were we? Tasks. Yeah. So apparently now it's phase 3. User story 1. Okay. And it's now working through this. Oh, pressing the hotkey, speaking, and then getting some text on the screen. So yeah, interestingly, we're an hour and a half in, and we're now just starting the first user story. We've got all the projects set up by the looks of it. Whether it actually works or not, who knows, really. I guess we shall discover when we eventually get the chance to run any of this. Got some icons. I don't know why it's got all of those icons, but so yeah, so it's now writing all the Rust code, which I don't understand at the moment. But again, this is what Claude is for, writing all the code nowadays. Cargo Clippy. Yeah, so I did, like, one thing it hasn't done, and actually is part of our constitution. Well, it's TDD. I mean, it's the first thing in our constitution, and it's not done any of that. Whether it's actually started, no. But we haven't got. Okay, it's actually not part of the constitution. Yeah, okay. So we don't need CI and CD and all that kind of stuff. That's probably way too far. Let's actually build a product first, and then we can worry about the pipelines and automated testing on GitHub and all that kind of stuff. Let's get past phase 1 or phase 3 and see where we actually get to. So yeah, I guess like with vibe coding, when you're sat here waiting for it to do something, I guess doing other vibe coding projects or working on something else is probably the way to do it, rather than just scrolling my phone. Something to think about for next stream is maybe we can work concurrently on multiple projects. Maybe we can look at getting the Claude bot on a VPS and a workflow. Actually, no, let's ignore Claude bot for the moment. Maybe we can work on 2 products at once, and maybe we can start building the kind of short generation pipeline tool concurrently with the text-to-speech tool. Because like I say, I'm sat here for 5-10 minutes watching Claude giving it permissions to do stuff. So yeah, maybe we do double vibe coding, taking it to the extreme. Yeah, if anyone has got any kind of experience with vibe coding, workflows, and all that kind of stuff, it'd be interesting to see what you guys do, and what I can do to improve my workflow. Yeah, keen to hear. Obviously, I'm trying out this Specify tool, which seems to be doing pretty good. Obviously, we don't actually have anything yet that we can run. Interestingly, it's actually said that it's done all this stuff in phase 3, but it's not written any tests, even though the note is write these tests first, ensure they fail before the implementation. We've still got 0 tests actually written. Yeah. See, this is the thing that I find quite frustrating about vibe coding so far, is that you give it an instruction and it just totally ignores it. You would think that, I mean, it's in the Constitution, tests must be written before the implementation. It's in the task, write these tests first, ensure they fail before the implementation. And then it's literally just gone straight into the implementation. So you do kind of wonder, like, what has it got? I mean, look, we've gone into implementation for user story 2 before we've even done I mean, it's saying its tests are passing, but I can't see any tests. Where is it writing these tests? Because it's not doing it in... I mean, it's not even checking the tests off again, which I don't quite... follow, given that tests were literally the first thing it's meant to be writing. So it's running like cargo test. Let's see what happens when we run that. We get tests. But I can't see where these tests are. Oh, okay, so it's written the tests in the same file. Okay, maybe that's Rust standard, which I'm fine with. Okay, I mean, so now it's saying that it's done, right? Okay, where actually are we? Please explain where we actually are in the tasks phase. Because it's saying that, well, it says 14 out of. Okay, well, I mean, I don't get why we'd be starting phase 4, 5, 6 before we even touched the test and stuff on the other phases, let alone complete the other phases. Because really what we should be doing is we should be doing user story 1 and the tests for user story 1 before we move on to anything else. But it seems to have just skipped tons of stuff. And now it's compacting the conversation, which is always annoying. Okay. The other thing I need to do is I need to add a scene so I can pop to get a drink. Break. Does that work? Okay. So I guess on the live stream in a second we should see screen. Can I write text on it or something? So yeah, we'll see whether that pops up on the stream. If it does, good, and I'll pop for a break. So yeah, as I say, I'm totally new to streaming, so it's going to be a learning curve. The stream seems to be quite far behind, which is slightly annoying. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of one of the frustrating things that I find with the vibe coding stuff is that, you know, using the spec stuff, you know, it's pretty clear that you need to do TDD first, and it just totally ignored that. That, you know, all the specs call for TDD, but implementation was done first for hardware dependent modules. So we'll see how we get on. Okay, I'm just going to go for a quick break. I'm not sure how this all works, so I'll put this blank screen on. I think that does it. Take the microphone off for the moment. Try and mute it. So yeah, I'll potentially BRB. Okay, I am back. So it should still be doing some stuff. It actually says it's following TDD now, which is good. Let's see where we can get to. Probably stream for about another half an hour. So let's see what we can get to. So yeah, I mean, it says it's following TD now, which hopefully it is. Okay, so we've actually got some tests finally. Well, test files, which is good. It's got some ignores. Yeah, I mean, audio capture, I guess that's probably a bit difficult to do just at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, download it, I guess is the thing. Okay. Yes, go for it. Yes, you can have access to unit tests. Looks like this one person, Yoa, is very intent on hacking this thing. Yeah, the idea of prompt injection is an interesting one. Certainly a big security potential problem. I mean, this one is a lot of attacks so far. I think nothing's got through. Okay, so we have apparently done task 1. Okay, so all those tests are there. For user story 1, so if we do that, they should all pass. Good. Okay, there is no readme. Please create a readme and documentation on how to use the product and how I can test it locally. So it'd be good to give it a go, boot it up and run it. Okay, so now in theory we have a README and some documentation about how to actually run it. So it looks like if we run this, we should get something. And we failed. PM. Okay, so we get some kind of app, but like, do we have to go to local host or something? The app starts minimized. System tray. Show settings. Okay, so what was it? So on local host we get the system tray icon does nothing, nor does it have the option to show setting. I don't think. Yeah. So yeah, so this kind of thing is like a super interesting idea. Yeah. So yeah, I wonder when the next Claude bot or whatever it is becomes viral, whether we can generate some ideas like that and then create a little product around it and try and get some traction on places like Hacker News and stuff. Right. Anyway, we've got something now. We had something. Still doing various things. It doesn't look very good, I'll grant you that. Looks super bloody basic, but as a start, that's fine. We can polish it all, make it look good later on. Okay. So where we were, oh, let's put it up in Brave, which is my default. So put it in Chrome. Okay, so we get something now, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we now I don't know whether this error is always there or not. current mode toggle. Okay, so we can change. Well, we can do some other stuff. I mean, this says navigate to settings. Yeah, okay. So it looks like you can. So let's just do Command R. Okay. So if I press Command R now, nothing happens. And you go to models and it just breaks. So yeah, it doesn't look like we have a model when we start it. It's just like, or even like the option to download. Yeah, I mean, that says. I mean, this says we have to I'm fine to download it to start off with, but we at least need to have the ability to go to that list. Currently, it just doesn't do anything. I don't know whether you can open up. Okay, yeah. So if you click models, what do we get? Yeah. Okay, so we can probably. Ooh. So yeah, if we pass this. Oh, there we go. We're actually getting something now. Interesting. Okay, I've got no idea what quantized means. I've still got no idea. Okay, I thought the model was meant to be Whisper. I mean, it's still doing stuff, so let's allow it to continue. I mean, these aren't clear as to what the model actually is. So we should get it to display the model name. And means what? We should get it to display everything about the model. But we'll let it do its thing. So yeah, maybe we can write a task in user story 1, or probably not. Maybe we need to get to write another task in that. Can we do that with Specify? Yeah, I mean, this. I wonder whether this is kind of like a one-shot thing. the idea behind it, rather than you kind of loop through it. It doesn't really have like a workflowy thing. Okay, so that's compacting. I mean, what happens if we, nothing. No, I've got no idea what's going on here. Okay, so we've downloaded. If we activate that model, I mean, this UI is terrible so far. Okay, so we've now got an active model. Command Shift plus space. I mean, that's my one password. Command Shift R. There we go. Okay, so we get nothing popping up, basically. I don't seem to get any errors. Yeah, I get no errors. It's now doing something else. I don't quite know what. Okay, let's try Command Shift R again. Again, nothing. Nothing from the console either. So I mean, it implies its testing is not great. Is what I'll say there. Yeah, I mean, the model stuff seems to work well. I mean, in the UI it says it's working, but we don't actually get anything. Well, I mean, it doesn't seem to want to record at the moment. Let's try and get an understanding of what's actually going on. So yeah, when I mean, okay, that seems like a pretty basic thing that it would check, but fair enough. So let's see whether we can actually get to the initial MVP in the first stream. Hopefully we can. 2.5 hours, or 2 hours 20 minutes so far of streaming. If we can end with the user story 1 done, I'll be reasonably happy. And then we can look at the future ones in future streams. It's what, 6 p.m. here. So maybe I'll come on after dinner and before I go to the gym. But yeah, I mean, again, this is kind of one of the things that I've found with my vibe coding so far, is that it's descriptive and as clear as you can be in terms of like rules, constitutions, etc., etc. It will often just ignore it anyway. And as we saw here, you know, write these tests first. The first thing in the constitution is use TDD, first, you know, core principle number 1, and then it just implemented user story 1 without doing any testing. Yeah, it is what it is. And user story 1 is all complete, and we don't work. So yeah, I appreciate that it's, you know, the chances of it being able to one-shot a lot of this stuff is pretty slim. But things like following, you know, pretty clear rules, I would have thought would be quite standard, really, but obviously it doesn't. So I guess we must say follow the Constitution every time that we continue a step. And maybe that's just because we're using Specify, but Claude doesn't actually use Specify. I don't know whether actually, yeah, I mean, maybe I didn't do implement. Maybe that was the problem. I think I did, but maybe we need to make sure we do that and make sure that it's actually following the Constitution. It seems to be having problems mounting this component, but again, we'll see how it gets on. So yeah, I would have thought I could see stream activity here, but obviously not. So yeah, a couple of other things I need to do is like create a screen for when I'm on break. Get some viewers would be good. Has it been hacked yet? I wonder. Where has it gone? Where's the hack? Hack my claw. Still not hacked. So yeah, in other things that I can think of, like in terms of the products to build, I may have mentioned this earlier, but a product that, or a tool that takes long form streams like this, breaks it out into like logical segments based on the transcript, and then perhaps offers suggestions for stuff that we could clip into a kind of main channel video would be interesting. So certainly if you ever watch someone like the Primogen, in his channel, you know, he'll stream and then he has an editor and stuff, but they'll cut out a bit of his stream and then that will become a long form video, and it's maybe like a take on an article or something like that. So maybe that's an interesting way we can start to do things. Maybe we cover articles in the videos, in the streams, and get long form content from that kind of thing. Right. Apparently it's working now, so let's see. We're still Command Shift R. Yeah, we get nothing. Well, no visual anyway. Let me retry, because maybe it broke. So still Command Shift R. Nothing. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We still have this error here. Cannot read. So still nothing when we hit the record hotkeys in the browser on localhost. We get so there's no errors that I can see here. Command or Control Shift and R. I mean, that's what I'm pressing. No errors in the GUI console. The terminal, we run so yeah, you can see why I want to do voice to text, because my typing is so terrible at the moment. So we'll let that vibe and have a look at some more hacker news. It doesn't seem to be getting any more emails. Maybe it's gone down or something. So yeah, again on the like the product of like a TikTok Shorts, YouTube Shorts kind of idea and script generator. I mean, the Hack by Claw thing's a cool little idea that you could, you know, read the RSS, see that's kind of one of the most popular things that's been talked about on Hacker News in the last 6 hours or whatever, and then get a little script explaining what it is, some screenshots, etc., and then record a little short, you know, even if it's just kind of like, hey, look at this really cool project from someone that's trying to hack, you know, hack Claude bot and talk about prompt injection and that kind of stuff. So it's just one of those ideas that I'm kind of thinking about. So I want to try short form content just because I can probably churn out a lot of that, especially if we have tooling to come up with some ideas and scripts and stuff. I can probably do, you know, 3 or 4 shorts a day, work on, you know, the hooks and all that kind of stuff, and try and get a bit of traction, I guess, on an account or two. I can work on various topics as well and see kind of what works, what doesn't work, and then try and start longer form content, which will take a lot more effort. but I do believe the rewards are far greater on long form content from what I've seen. And in terms of the topics that I'm thinking of, so like I said, I think the hacking kind of niche and topic is super interesting because you kind of touch on technology. I mean, like thinking about my own interests. I mean, like I said, I was watching that George Holtz stream. The hack thing happened there. This kind of hack my claw thing. There's always interesting kind of cybersecurity related stories going on. So that's probably lots of content going on. Same with like an AI kind of newsy one or topicy one. Again, you can cover stuff like this one because it's prompt injection. You can cover obviously the new Claude model, all those kind of various things. And again, I think both of those kind of transform into longer form as well. If you know the hacking one, you can talk about longer form stories of hacks. You can talk about the products they use. You can do little tutorials, all that kind of stuff. And again, in the AI one, there's lots of stuff you can talk about in longer form. Again, things like models, things like the ideas around how we're going to end up using those models. So again, like the idea that you have this kind of model interface between yourself and then your apps like Instagram, WhatsApp and stuff. And then your model is kind of trained on you and learns from you. And then that helps present your data. Kind of an interesting idea. Maybe we can try and build something on stream that does something like that. So yeah, there's lots of ideas that I've got going on in terms of products, and then products related around generally content creation at the moment, because that's kind of what I'm interested in and thinking about. So yeah, we'll play around with those kind of things. Hopefully we can get this one product working at its most basic for now, and then hopefully, assuming that we can vibe code, by the end of the week we can have a reasonably polished speech to text product. Then we can look at creating like a sales page, maybe doing payments and stuff, or just open sourcing this. And then we can look at building, as I say, like maybe like a dashboard will be a good thing because that's kind of quite a straightforward thing. Maybe we can use like Notion, for example, as the back end on that kind of thing, just to kind of get some kind of visual thing that we can put on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. Not that I've set up any Twitter accounts for this kind of thing yet, but it's kind of my ideas. So, yeah. Okay, so according to this, it's now ready to reach. I think it refreshes and stuff, but I'm just doing it anyway. So we're still Command Shift R. Oh, we got something there at least. Okay, when we press a core. Nothing. So we're kind of edging closer, but we're still very far away from what we actually want in terms of any kind of functionality beyond downloading a model. So yeah, in terms of what inspired me to kind of think about this path, actually the Claudebot creator, I can't think what his name is. I think it's Claude Bot now or something like that. Something like that, Claudebot, isn't it? What was it? Malt. Yeah, let me just retest this and see whether we get anything. Nope. Okay, I have activated the model. Yes, that's right. So my point, I mean, that's not what I wanted. Kind of what inspired me to look at this kind of stuff is like the guy that wrote OpenClaw basically says that he just doesn't look at code anymore. I think, yeah, Peter. And he just ships whatever it says, basically. Yeah, shipping at inference speed. Maybe we can do a stream where we read this article and I can kind of talk about it and react to it. And it's a super interesting idea, right? That, I mean, he's obviously now got a job at OpenAI, and I assume he's making tons of money from OpenAI in terms of salary and probably stock options. But it's super interesting, right? That if you can get to the point where you're able to literally code and ship at inference speed, that's a huge multiplier. So again, it kind of inspired me to just give this a go and just see whether we can start building stuff. As I say, like I'm kind of thinking along the content creation pipeline-y stuff, because I do think that content creation is a great way to build an audience, to build a business. I've seen lots of people do it, and hopefully make enough that I can not get a job and work for myself. And as I say, like I do wonder whether if we can ship at inference speed, which basically means that you can ship at the speed that Claude Code can spit out code, basically. A lot of SaaS products won't work, I don't think, necessarily, because like if I can build my own free version in a few hours, why would I pay $50 a month for whatever SaaS? I mean, $50 a month is probably a bit of an example, but it's like this Feedly, right? Which is one that I was looking at the other day. And obviously it does lots of stuff. Like they're kind of now marketing it as security intelligence stuff. But ultimately it's kind of just like an RSS reader that combines all your stuff into a nice little kind of homepage. I think I've got my own little version here. Yeah, so you see like it will take, you know, various websites that have an RSS feed and just spit out all the content for you. But they want like, I think it's $9 a month. I don't know how much that is. It's like £5, is it? Yeah, I'm currently in Japan, so what's it? Yeah, £5 a month. Just for the feed thing, like, but an RSS feed in itself isn't that crazy, right? But you can run a VPS for $5 a month, or you can just do it locally for free. So I wonder whether, you know, if we can do it at inference speed, would I just build my own RSS thing and just do it, you know, just drop that kind of stuff completely. Interesting ideas. Anyway, how far away are we from actually running something? Right. Okay, so we still get nothing. Which is frustrating. Okay. Model auto load, message internally. So yeah, so this is, I mean, it's interesting that this is kind of just not really working. Because yeah, cause I guess this is one of the problems that you see with vibe coding is that when you run into a problem like this, if I can't fix it, I can't prompt it to fix it. I don't know Rust, so I'd have to go learn Rust, which I can do, and dive into it and see what's going on. But you know, I've got however much code now, like it's quite a lot of code already, that I have no idea about because I've not written a single line of it. So I'd have to kind of read it all. I'd have to understand the architecture. I mean, I've read the README and stuff, but I don't actually understand the architecture or all the code and stuff. So I am relying on Claude being able to actually fix its own issues with my prompting. And worst case, I can dive into it, but that will kind of suck if that's the case. Like you can't, and I have to dive into the code. I mean, it says now it's recording. Why does 1password want to do it? No, thank you, 1password. Okay, right. So, I mean, so it seems to have done something, right? Okay, maybe 1password was the active window. Okay, recording, testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, so that's worked, right? We've got no like UI or anything, and I can't see the result of this kind of stuff, but that's really cool. Okay, so we've kind of got a little MVP. It's certainly not polished at all, and there's loads of things we need to add to this, but reasonably happy with that. I'm reasonably impressed that we're able to do that. So if we think about this, that's the test. Let's just go through user story 1 before we end the stream, and see what we've actually done, because audio capture, yeah. Sample conversion rate, I would assume that's done. Yeah, we've got on a wrapper. Yeah, we've got model registry. Yeah, list model, stop recording, yeah. Keyboard injection, yeah, we've done that because it did paste it into the thing. Yeah, pasted it. Implement inject text, yeah. So we did global hotkey, seems to work. We've not tested that one, but it seems to be there. Okay. So, I mean, reasonably happy with that, actually. The fact that we've actually got it kind of working. So again, testing, this is the test, 1, 2, 3, output the text. Yeah, okay, so it's pretty cool. Okay, you get the kind of the dopamine of actually, I mean, not that I built it, but having something kind of work. Like one of the things I love about building software is you kind of get that dopamine of, hey, look, it now works. But I've not had to write any code, and I've now got something kind of working, which is kind of really cool from a building and product perspective. Okay, so I guess what we'll do, I'm going to end the stream, go get some dinner, and then maybe I'll come back and do part 2 before I go to the gym, and then try and get user story 2. Well, firstly, get to write the tests in TDD. They didn't do. But then maybe we can get it to pick the model and get it to do some other stuff, build some other stuff. And then we can look at, well, I guess we can try and get it to do all of these phases, and then see where we are. Would probably be a good thing. And maybe just not touch anything other than what we've got. And then we can start doing kind of actual product crafting beyond the initial specs that Specify came up with. Yeah, that's the plan. Right. If anyone is watching this, thank you for watching. And I will be back either today or tomorrow, where we will kick off again, trying to get to $1 million in revenue from products and content creation. This is day one, and we're done.